Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Experiencing GhiaLogic. Hello, my beautiful, my wonderful, and my loyal listeners. Welcome to another episode of Experiencing GhiaLogic. I'm your lovely host, GhiaLogic, and this is episode 256. On today's episode, I would like to talk about navigating difficult conversations. So piggybacking off of last episode 255, Understanding Cultural Competence, I kind of want to ride this wave of going back to the basics regarding the fundamentals of my podcast and why I'm sitting and talking to you today. I love to laugh, I love to crack jokes, I love to be silly, goofy, I love to make people smile. But sometimes you have to do the work to unravel that. You have to build that rapport. And with those things comes having difficult conversations. I have become so culturally competent because I have had numerous difficult conversations with people that do not look like me, did not have the same upbringing as myself, and have opposing views than me. Every conversation isn't a knee slapper. No, sometimes it's awkward silence. Okay? I'm here to be honest with you. It might be an uphill battle for you if you don't live in a diverse city like Houston, like New York, like Los Angeles, like Miami. I could have listeners that are watching this podcast episode and they may live in Kansas, Iowa, Alabama, where they might not see Asian, Indian people, British people, South African people on the same day-to-day basis that I'm blessed to be able to witness the diversity of cultures in the city I live in, right? So this podcast is specifically for you guys so you can have the proper equipment in your head to prepare you for navigating these difficult conversations in order to become culturally competent. So I will be referencing my notes on this one because I made a very detailed map of what you need in your toolbox of how to achieve the goal of being culturally competent. These tools and strategies for engaging in sensitive discussions around race, identity, and privilege. It will help you gain competence successfully on another person's cultural background without being offensive or ingenuous. That is the main goal, for you to gain your cultural competence without offending anyone in the process. So first, I would love for you to understand the importance of difficult conversations. So first, you need to understand the importance of having these difficult conversations. Why is it important for you to want to be unignorant? Why is it important for you to want to be better? Why is it important for you to sit down with someone that doesn't look like you, wasn't raised the same as you, and understand why their voice matters? I think this is the perfect time because of the heightened, race division in our country for the last, I'd say, odd 10 to 20 years. With the Black Lives Matter movement, with certain presidential candidates, with certain governors in our country, policies that have been enacted and policies that have been deregulated. I think this is the perfect time for you to understand why having these difficult conversations matter. So this is necessary to have personal growth and societal progress. Remember that these conversations are bigger than you. Focus on the potential positive outcomes, such as increased understanding and stronger relationships between you and this person or you and this cultural group. In addition to creating a safe space, you could prepare yourself mentally and emotionally for this conversation. Go ahead and do some self-reflection. Set some intentions that you want to have for this particular conversation. What questions do you want answered? And how do you want them to view you after the conversation? And I think you should also do some framework for the person you're talking to as well. What do you want them to think of you, right? How do you want them to warm up to you and to receive you? I want you to understand that you may not get all of the answers in this one setting. That's the most important takeaway for preparing for the conversation. Knowing that it might not go the exact way that you want it to initially. Know that this conversation might not go in a linear direction. Okay, so this conversation may be continued for a few days, for a few weeks, months, or years. That is okay. There's so many things to learn about one another that you might not be able to delve into that in a conversation. You might not get everything you need in this one conversation. Learning about different backgrounds can be a sensitive and touchy topic for some people, so just be courteous. Again, it kind of ties back to creating a safe space while you're preparing for this conversation. While you're having the conversation, and what makes this conversation difficult in some aspects is because you must use inclusive language. Okay, the importance of language in shaping this conversation is of the highest level. You want to be gentle. You want to make sure you're being warm and empathetic. Let's go ahead and review some examples of inclusive language versus harmful language and how to pivot if things may go awry. Avoid generalizations. Ask open-ended questions. Be specific and be accurate. And be mindful of your tone. If things do start to go haywire in the conversation, take a breather. Go ahead and pause, reflect, maybe let the other person get all of their thoughts out, and just let them know, hey, I didn't mean to offend you. I did not know this. This is why I'm having the conversation with you in the first place. Be courteous. Let them know that that was not your intent to get them rattled up or shaken or heated. Remind them of why you're having this difficult conversation. Remind them of your upbringing and how it was so different and how you did not know about A, B, C, and D, correct? So just pivot and don't be defensive and help them if they are being defensive. Help them lower their guard with you. Build that rapport. You want to also have an active listening technique. So I've listed some ways to practice active listening. So you want to summarize what the other person has said. After they finish, you want to say, okay, so generally speaking, this is what you mean. Or when people do this, that's what you guys mean when you reply with this. Try to put what they said into your own words. That really shows someone that you're grasping what they're trying to convey. Also, ask clarifying questions. If you're not clear, make sure you walk away from this conversation clearer and confident than ever. Withhold judgment, have empathetic responses, and avoid interrupting. I hate people that interrupt me on conversations that aren't even difficult. Just let me finish what I have to say. That means a lot, and that goes a long way. Just opening up your ears, not trying to beat someone to the punch, not trying to finish their sentence, and not trying to give them, your experience. That is not going to matter in this situation, and that is what makes these conversations so difficult, because you really have to take a step back and put yourself in second place and put them in first. I want to highlight to you all the importance of validating feelings even when opinions differ. Now more than ever, we are a polarized nation, but you can still live with someone, be friends with someone, work with someone, work for someone with polarized or even different opinions. The respect still needs to be there. The understanding and the empathy still needs to be there. it's very important that you validate people's feelings because we have all had trauma. We have all had different upbringings as children, different family dynamics that make us who we are. We are all so different. So just be mindful that even when they're sharing their opinions or their facts about who they are, who their families are, and you might not agree with their upbringing, you have to respect it and maybe just not share every single thing that comes to your mind, because it doesn't take away from how they feel just because you think differently on a topic. They didn't ask for your feedback. Managing emotions in this conversation, again, this is going to be of the utmost importance. So you're going to need strategies for managing strong emotions that may arise during these difficult conversations. So you need to stay calm. You need to take breaks if need be, right? Call them back. Maybe have somebody else step in and be a mediator during this conversation if need be. I would encourage self-awareness of your own emotional triggers and how you respond to that as well. This is an extremely mature conversation that you're going to be having. So you need to know that if someone brings up this, and this, you need to know how you're going to respond. You need to be aware of that. Can you manage when those emotions might arise? Because one, when you're talking out of just the heat of the moment, you might say things that aren't true. You might not be thinking as clearly as you usually are. And then again, you guys, we don't know everything about someone. You don't. So it's best to be quiet and to just take a breather when your emotions really get heightened. What about something they say makes you super sad and you know that, hey, if they bring this up, I might just completely detach, right? You have to be aware of your own emotions and your own triggers and things of that sort. So this is why this conversation could be difficult, but the growth is so beneficial and it's so necessary. Self-awareness in general in this conversation is going to take you a very long way as well. It's going to show you who you really are when you're learning about other people's backgrounds and things like that. It's going to show you what you're built of. It's going to expose some skeletons out of the closet. It's going to let you know about your own personal biases, okay? This is for your personal growth and the progress of society. All right, so handling resistance or conflict if it does come up in this conversation, because it might arise. So another tool I want to equip you with, just in case it completely takes a turn in the conversation, right? How to handle resistance or conflict. I want to provide some strategies for addressing defensiveness or pushback. I would only provide research or statistics that you know for sure is true and accurate. You really want to be accurate during this time. So if you're getting some pushback and things like that, tell them where you're coming from. Let it be accurate. Also, remind them why you're having the conversation in the first place. You want to grow, or you want to be confident on this topic. Well, I work here, I do this, and I thought it would be beneficial if I learned more about A, B, C, and D. Despite you all having conflict, keep the respect there, because it's going to make them respect you even more. That you're staying level-headed, that you're not condemning their actions, condemning their values, condemning their family. We're still people at the end of the day. So keep it kosher. But if you do receive pushback, fact check it. Fact check it. Tell them that, no, someone else told me this, and this is where they got it from. Show them an article where you saw this, and this. I don't know. And let them know what the goal of this conversation is. Hey, man, this was not my intent for us to argue. I did not mean to get you worked up. Again, I'm just trying to grow. I'm just trying to understand so I can tell my family, my kids, how to operate when they go to school. Hey, I'm trying to prepare them for the upcoming school year. You know, I'm just making up scenarios, but this is something you could use if the conversation does end up in conflict. Following up and having reflection after the conversation is equally as important as all the other steps I spoke about previously. Following up after a difficult conversation to check in and reflect on what was discussed shows that you really care and you really are trying to grow. It shows that you really want to confirm everything you took away from the conversation, clarify anything that still needs to be clarified, thank them for them letting you into their world and being vulnerable. All right, so my camera overheated, so I kind of had to readjust, set up again. So let's pick up where I left off. Follow up and reflection. All right, so I think that it's really important to follow up and reach out to the person you had a conversation with and let them know your takeaways from the conversation. Confirm everything that you all talked about. You know, make sure you have it right. So make sure that when you are done with this conversation and you follow up, you want to make sure you have the correct grasp on everything. You want to be able to debunk certain stereotypes that people might have said previously. You want to be confident on this topic. That's how I am with certain cultures. No, I know what it is. Okay. I've had conversations. I know that here's an example, right? Australia. I know that it's not just filled with spiders and snakes. Australia is not the outback, right? It's just really not. So I visited Australia and I have talked to other people that live in Australia even after I left, had conversations, built relations with them, right? And okay, this is why people think this way about you guys. This is why people are in Texas speaking about you guys and we probably have more bugs than them, right? Australia is not just the outback. They have very large global cities that are industrialized. Okay, so that's just like one example of just having follow-up, making sure you're taking away the right things about Aborigines people and who they are and what they mean to Australia and who their indigenous people are and what has happened to them and things like that. You just don't want to visit somewhere, have conversations with people and still be wrong. You want to confirm and clarify. I think that this shows that you really care and you really want to grow. You really want to take something away from this conversation. It's really showing of your character. I encourage you all to journal and reflect on the conversation. Journal your takeaways from learning about this particular background, this particular culture. I also think that discussing this experience with a trusted friend will help you process your thoughts. I've listed some resources that you could use. They are all books. I love reading. I have 3 books on this list. The first one that will help you build your cultural competency, and it will also help you navigate these difficult conversations, right? Crucial Conversations, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. This is written by Carrie Patterson, Joseph Grenny, Ron McMillan, and Al Switzler. This book is a practical guide to navigating tough conversations effectively and emphasizing the importance of dialogue. The second book is named Nonviolent Communication, A Language of Life. This was written by Marshall B. Rosenberg. This book outlines a compassionate approach to communication that fosters understanding and empathy. The third book on this list was written by a fellow U of H alum, go Cougs, Brene Brown. I absolutely love all of her books. She is always a great read, Brene Brown. So this particular book that's going to help you navigate difficult conversations regarding inclusivity, diversity, and becoming culturally competent is named Dare to Lead. Brave Work, Tough Conversations, Whole Hearts. In this book, Brene Brown explores vulnerability in leadership and how it can lead to more honest and inclusive conversations. If we are moving our world in the right direction, our leaders should be more inclusive, okay? And that is simply what I believe. The more inclusive, the better for our world. The more we will understand each other, the more that we can market to each other, the more that we can work together. I don't see a con to becoming more culturally competent besides having difficult conversations. And I enjoy having difficult conversations. I think the best things in life come about having those awkward and harsh talks, because you get to really face reality in those moments. You cannot run, right? It will all be revealed. The truth will always set you free. This was such a fun episode to research, and I really hope that I have equipped you with the proper tools to engage in sensitive discussions around race, identity, and privilege. Don't wait. The time is now. Help build a better backyard, a better world for your siblings, your children. The time is now. We're living in the information age. There's just no reason to be ignorant. Being ignorant is not cool anymore. You should want to learn about people that do not look like you and are not from the same state or same country as you. I will reiterate this until I die. I enjoy becoming more and more culturally competent every day. It's a flex. It's a flex. It will make people want to hire you. It will make people want to be around you. It shows your confidence, your character. It shows that you're different, you're bold, and you don't care what people think. Those are the type of people that I want to be around. I think that is all I have for this episode of Experiencing GhiaLogic. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow this podcast on all of the digital streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Share this video with a friend that you think needs to become more culturally competent, or you think that person needs to have a difficult conversation with their significant other or their friend or their neighbor or someone in the workplace. What we've discussed on this podcast episode can truly help change lives. So tell a friend to tell a friend. I will talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.